What's up, Doc? Welcome to the Docs Get Money podcast. Are you a badass doctor killing it professionally and has bigger dreams than just clocking in and out of the hospital? Do you want to leave behind a legacy that is as lit as an HBCU homecoming? Want to know how other doctors are getting to the big bag? That's right, making 5, 6, and 7 figures without putting on the white coat? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kimberly, but you can call me Kim or KB. I went from being a burnt out and overwhelmed emergency physician to the founder and CEO of 2 6-figure non-clinical companies and beating burnout along the way. I'm also your business coach, here to help you make money moves to change the world. This podcast isn't just about making money, though. It's about leveling up your life, mindset, and bank account so you can build an empire that's as iconic as Beyonce. You ready? Let's get into it.
Hey, Nakia. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us on the Docs Get Money podcast. I'm super excited to have you today.
I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you look fabulous as usual.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background. Who are you?
Sure. So I am an intellectual property attorney. I have been practicing law. Oh my God, I'm going into my 18th year now. And I also do business coaching. So I help entrepreneurs with really how to monetize their intellectual property. So, creating it, protecting it, and monetizing it is what I do a lot of. I started doing this work, I'm coming on 10 years. So my first stint in the law was totally not this. I was a litigator. I was in court and I was tearing them up. I like to say to people, I was a pit bull in a pencil skirt. I was a litigator for many, many years. And then I just got really burnt out from it. I'm sure you can relate to a little bit of this. Just exhaustion and really meeting people I was a divorce litigator, which is difficult work. It's very emotional. I like to say I was meeting people at the worst time of their life. And so a lot of what they were experiencing, what they were going through began to just weigh on me a lot. And so I was like, okay, look, I got to get out of this. I need to do something different. And so I had made this plan that I was going to start an online business. I wanted to have location independence. I wanted to be able to travel. I had decided to homeschool. My daughter had just started high school. So my husband and I, decided that we would homeschool her. And by we, that meant me. So I really needed something a little bit more flexible. To be honest, Kim, I was ready to leave the law. I was like, I don't have to do that. I started online business, wasn't quite sure what it would be. And I took a course, Marie Forleo's B School. You may have heard of it. A lot of people that get their start in the online world start with Marie Forleo's B School. So I was in B School. Mind you, I have no business. I don't know what the business is going to be, but I'm learning about online business. So while I'm there, I am I'm meeting all these amazing people. She has a really great community, all these amazing people. And they're like, somebody stole my ebook. Somebody's using my name. My client isn't paying me. And I'm like, oh, I had Oprah always talks about that aha moment. I had my aha moment, which was, oh, wait a minute. I'm about to be a lawyer for these people because they need a lawyer, obviously. And that's how I started. Like literally just fell into it, to be honest. I did not, all of the work that I do right now, I didn't take one course on any of this in law school. I did not go to law school to be an online intellectual property attorney, but sometimes that's just how how the journey goes.
So what did you go into law school wanting to do? Did you want to do divorce?
I wanted to be a litigator. I really wanted to be in court. It wasn't necessarily divorce. Funny story. In law school, my second year, my third year, I was a student attorney I was a criminal defense attorney. So I used to do a lot of criminal defense. I was in the courtroom. I was on the trial team. I went to Howard University School of Law. Shout out HU. Okay. And so if you go to Howard, or if you know anything about going to Howard, you know that Howard has, I would say, arguably the best mock trial team. We were coached by Monique Presley. You may have heard of her. She's a legal commentator. She represented Bill Cosby a while back. She's like on Roland Martin everywhere, just slaying people and taking names later, right? Like she's just that person. She was so good, and so our trial team was really, really good. So I was really into that. Like for me, being a lawyer meant going into court, destroying people on cross examination, and so that's what I went to law school for, and that is what I did. I started doing family criminal, got to be a little heavy for me, so I kind of transitioned to doing family law is like the civil version of criminal. Like you're in court a lot. It's a lot of court work, lots of clients. I knew that I wanted to represent, at least in the beginning of my career, I wanted to represent everyday people. So I didn't want to go to like big law. I did my first year, I did an internship at a big law firm where the clients were like, major companies and corporations. That never really set well with me. I mean, I'm a people person. So helping people get child support from their baby daddy, like that was like, yes, let's get it. Like that was everyday people.
Because that's tangible and that's real, and that's what people are going through. And
yes.
I just thought about what you said, like you wanted to be an attorney for everyday people. I think that reminds me a lot about why I do emergency medicine, because I like everyday people. Like I like to be able to serve the everyday person, and not necessarily, you have to be just a woman or just a man or just a certain age or things like that. So
and feeling like you make an impact, a direct impact in somebody's life, right? Like even when I was doing criminal, there were a lot of people that reminded me of people in my family, people that had drug issues and they had drug charges, but they were addicts. And so for me, like I wanted to be the voice for them. Is it really someone who is addicted to drugs? Do they need to go to jail for this, or do we need some rehabilitation? Or, I used to represent a lot of college age kids. So people that were getting DUIs or assaults, roommates get into a fight in a college dorm, those kinds of people. Like, and I have these people to this day that still come to me like, I remember you. Like, they were so inspired. I was a young Black lawyer. I was someone who looked like them. They had never experienced that before. So being able to have that impact and helping someone not go to jail for a DUI because they made a mistake at 18 versus, you know what I mean? So for me, like that, it just meant something to me. I wanted to do work that was meaningful. And so in those early days of my career, that is why I wanted to represent, everyday people. And even now in doing representing entrepreneurs, they're still very small. I represent small business owners. So they are a lot of, one person, sometimes a partnership, but the most maybe 3 people. So I get to know them intimately. I know what their dreams are. I know why they started this business. I know what their mama wanted them to be when they grew up at. You know what I mean? Like all of that, it just feels, it makes work not feel like work.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's interesting about you, Nakia, is that you made the switch for yourself as an entrepreneur, that identity shift, like, okay, I'm a litigator, I'm a boss, I'm a pit bull in a pencil skirt, but now I'm ready to do something else.
Yeah.
How did you kind of cope with the identity shift? Was there an imposter syndrome that you felt, or tell me a little bit more when you were starting to transition and right before or right when you were going into B school?
So I have always been like a hustler and really good at marketing and branding. Like that's my strong suit. That's what my undergraduate degree is in. I didn't mention this before, but my first law practice, like everything I was describing to you, I did that right out of law school. So I didn't go work for somebody. I was an entrepreneur right out the gate. Like the only woman in my class that did that, my graduating class that did that. So I was very good at that. So I knew how to brand. I know and I believe if you brand yourself and you know how to market, you can sell anything, right? You can be whoever you want to be. So I started out with a law practice immediately out of law school. I was a solo practitioner. And against the advice of a lot of people. And I don't, it's not something that I regret. I think that a year into it, I sold my practice to a firm, and then I went to a law firm, and I stayed there for about 8 years, and then came back out again. So this time around, this is my second bite at the apple. And I will say that that was the right thing. When you are, especially when you're in a profession like law or medicine or any type of licensed profession, there are two hats to be successful. There's the hat of the business owner. I had that down pat. I could bring some clients in. Now, was I the greatest lawyer? No, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So, you know what I mean? So what happened was I was volunteering in this pro bono clinic trying to get experience. And so to do the pro bono clinic, there was a partner at a law firm who was mentoring you. So I did it just for that. Like, I need somebody to tell me, okay, I got this divorce case. What do I do next? How do I file a complaint? How do I do this? And so she was so impressed with me. I was in it. I was so faithful in this, Kim. I would go. It was one Saturday a month. Every Saturday for 12 months, I went. I came early. I helped her clean up because I was sitting at her feet. Because during my work day, I am doing consultations. This is before the internet, so I wasn't really making TikToks or anything. But I had the yellow pages. I was advertising. I was doing ads. I was doing a lot of direct mail campaigns. Like, I was marketing and bringing the business in. Mm-hmm. And so one day, after about a year, she said to me, she said, I like you so much, and I think you have such potential. She said, I would like to make you an offer to join our firm, bring your practice here, because I believe that you can be a great attorney, but you're not going to make it out there by yourself. You don't know enough. Mm-hmm. I think if we brought you here, we acquired your practice, take the need for you to have to chase clients, send bills, collect invoices, take that off your plate, because we have a full service law firm here, so that you could focus and learn how to be a good lawyer. You'll go much farther faster. That's the best thing that could have happened to me. And so I did. So I went there. I was promoted to partner after my second year, which was unprecedented at this firm. Because what was I doing? Bringing in one thing the kids know how to do is bring in some business and make some money. So they were like, they had never seen that before. I was the first woman of color, first Black woman to be promoted. I had a great career there. So when I made the shift, my confidence was there that I had done it before. I had now been there for 8 years. There was no doubt about mine. I would be even better. I just needed to figure out what I was going to do. So right. I didn't really have the imposter syndrome that I had the first time, because I was like, well, if I made it then,
surely I can make it now.
Surely I can make it happen now. Yeah.
That makes really good sense. And that's dope. I see so much or parallel paths and like between you and myself, because it's the same thing, at least in emergency medicine, I'll say. It is very much a field that a lot of us are independent contractors. So we have to take on this business mindset, whether we want to or not.
And that's the part they didn't teach you in med school.
No, they never teach us that. And I believe it's very strategically, because once you really see and understand what you're worth as a physician and what you're getting paid, like, of course, nobody is sneezing or saying that doctors are underpaid. No one is saying that, but it is compared to what we're bringing into the hospital.
Yeah.
It's definitely just fractions, pennies on the dollar a lot of the times of what we generate. And
Trust me, I know all too well. Well.
It's wild to me. My other question for you is where does the hustle mindset, where does that drive come from you? You said you've always been a hustler, so where does that come from?
I grew up hustling. I came from a family. First of all, I lost my mom when I was 10 years old. And you grow up really fast when that happens. My mother died. She was 31 years old. I was 10. I had a little brother who was 6. We moved with my grandmother. After that, my grandmother died 4 months after my mom. So I had to grow up fast. Like it was no choice. I don't come from money at all. At all. When I say at all, I mean at all. And so I was the first person in my family to go to college. I've been working like I was I was hustling. My very first job. So in DC, we had this mayor, this famous mayor named Mayor Marion Barry. You may have heard of him.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so Mayor Barry had this summer youth program, and he would help, he would help get you jobs. But when you're 14, you can start it in the program at 14, but you can only work 20 hours a week. Well, little young Nakia figured out a way how to finesse that. So I went and got two of them. I went to two different ones and like was sneaking, like breaking the rules. I had two, so because I needed 40 hours.
Yeah.
But I could only get 20. So I would work one. I worked at the Pentagon from 8:30 to 12:30, and then I would go to a middle school and tutor kids from 3 to 7 every day because I needed the money. Like I just didn't have it. And so, my father was a drug addict. He got his drug addiction was really, really bad after my mother died, and then his mother died not long after that.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very tight for money. And I needed to, while I don't have the story of someone who like, I didn't have to pay the electric bill, but once he paid the bills, he didn't have no money for me. So like buy my own toiletries. If I wanted to I've always liked nice things. I always, I think I got my first Gucci bag when I was like in elementary school. I've always been that kind of person. So I just I had to hustle. I was babysitting. I used to sell, we used to call them ice cups, Kool-Aid. I would make Kool-Aid, put it in a cup, paper cup, put them in a freezer and sell those for 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I was the candy lady. My father had a membership to, it was this store called Macro back then. It's kind of like the Costco. I would get the candy. I was the candy girl in middle school. Like I was just always that person that was hustling for money. So, and I had to, when you think about it, I had to market those services. Like how did people know that I was a candy girl? How did the families, after my father remarried, we moved to the suburbs of DC in like really nice area. And we were the only black family there. Girl, I was the babysitter of all these white families. Y'all got date night? Let me watch your kids. Why it's girl, I turned the whole community onto date night. It started with one family because I was like, I met this lady. We were at the playground. She had 3 kids. She was a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, did your husband ever? Me.
How old were you asking?
I was probably maybe about 13 or 14. Does your husband take you out for this? She was like, no, we can't. We don't, we have these 3 kids. I said, well, he should, and I'll watch them. So once I got that family, then I started telling the other family. Girl, I had every night of the week. Monday night was the one family. Tuesday, Wednesday, I was babysitting all these little kids.
But I'm amazed, like the boldness of this, like, did you take you out on a date?
I know about a husband taking somebody out. Nothing.
About me, like,
yes.
But you saw a need.
I saw a need because she was so stressed. Girl, her kids was terrible. Okay, 3 children. They were a mess, and she was home with them kids all day. I was like, "Hey, I'll never take you out."
Y'all don't know.
Going out on Monday. They were Scottish, and that was my first introduction. I didn't really, in DC, it was all black, and so that was my first interaction with white people. To be honest with you, and I was just mesmerized. They were so different. Like these kids, like their house. Their pantry was like, y'all got all this to choose from. Like they were so different. So they would, the husband would wear his little kilt. And I just thought that was the most interesting thing. Like he got on the skirt. But I just got to see things that I never had seen before. And to see a mother staying home with kids, like that wasn't, nobody in my old neighborhood lived like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved going to babysit them with them kids. They used to be bad, but
Hey, you're here now. You got through it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They're alive to tell the story too.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. So you've always been an entrepreneur So when do you feel like you made the shift in your mindset then from kind of the hustler to more of a business owner or the CEO of your law firm? When did that mindset start to really shift for you?
Definitely this second time around. And so that's why I say that, and I struggled when that lady approached me about going to the firm. I actually took a long time to respond because I was nervous about, I'm making all this money. Do I want to give them my money? Like I was thinking that way. But it turned out to be the best thing because when you get to like our perception is our reality, and what we believe is possible is a lot of times limited by what we see. So because I didn't see anything else, I thought that that was the only way, and I thought that that I made six figures in my first 6 months on my own right out of law school. So I thought that was a lot of money till I saw them making that 4 times that in a month, and I'm
Mhm.
like, wait, how they doing that? Oh, because they got us.
Right.
Because they've
Right.
hired all these lawyers, right? So I got to, so that's why the second time around, even though I completely shifted, it was almost like starting from ground zero because it's not like I left there and took my family law client, like I reinvented myself and I started from zero. And I had to, rebrand myself, reinvent myself completely. But I had in my mind the inner workings of a successful law firm from working there and understanding that there was a marketing department, that there was a billing department, that there were paralegals, that there were attorneys. And so I knew that when I went the next time, I was going to build my version of that because that is the only way that I was going to really be able to be the CEO, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. That makes 100% sense. So now you work with entrepreneurs, of course. Any type of entrepreneur, or does it have to be online business?
Online business is probably the easiest for me because it is what I know, and it a lot of times those are my clients that have some type of either a framework or some type of intellectual property, which I know we want to talk about like what that looks like. So those are the people that end up being attracted to me.
Mhm.
But when I left that firm and I started the second time, I also gained a lot of publicity and notoriety within the legal field because other lawyers were like, how is she doing this? Like, what is online? What is, they didn't understand that. So I started a consulting company. Actually, I started to consult before I left the firm because I hired a business coach. That was one thing that I learned too, was that this time around, I want somebody to give me the blueprint because I don't have the luxury. It's easier to start a business from school where you are already broke. You know what I mean? But it's like now I'm leaving a very high six-figure salary. I need to replace that like quickly. Okay.
Right.
I don't have time to be playing around. And
Figuring
so,
it out and playing
yes.
around.
So I hired a business coach a year before I was planning to leave. She had a 12-month program, employee to entrepreneur program.
Okay.
And so one of the first exercises that she gave me, and it's funny because I use this now even when I'm coaching people, she had me to list what are the things I love the most about my current job. And and so at the time I said, lunch. And like I loved the community of attorneys. The other fun fact is that woman that I told you about that was running that clinic that got me there.
Mhm.
Well, she retired and passed the torch to me. So I became the mentor of that clinic for other lawyers. And
Oh.
so I said and I didn't get paid. There was no pay for that, but I loved that work. I loved mentoring. I loved teaching. I loved helping. And so when I told my coach that, she was like, why don't you monetize that? Like, let's figure out a way to do that. And so I actually started the consulting before I left, which also made the transition easier. I was helping a lot of lawyers start their own law practices. And then as I, finished B school and I got into the online space and understanding how to use online marketing strategies and funnels and all those things, I started teaching lawyers how to do that too. So I really focus a lot of my coaching work on that
Mhm.
because that is so needed within my profession.
Yeah, because I think law and medicine are so similar because I think we're the one of the oldest professions in the country and career fields. But then we're also the last to get everything.
Yes.
Meaning, like you said, most people are like, what's a funnel? You mean like when I'm pouring the stuff
They
to
have
get
no,
oil
yes,
back into the like no a marketing funnel and what that looks like
yes,
and just those terms and even entrepreneurship inside of medicine or inside of the law may be being extraneous to not necessarily being a lawyer or working as a physician,
exactly.
but still doing something that is non-clinical or non-law related, but that's still business owning. All of that stuff is pretty brand new to our field. So we're already cutting edge
Yes,
having the conversation and we know what the heck a funnel is and things like
yes,
that.
exactly.
So, that's really, really dope. So your passion now is, like you said, working with entrepreneurs and other attorneys to start their law firms. So let's talk about it because we've been using the word intellectual property. What the heck does that mean? What is intellectual property?
So intellectual property is, I like to say, it's all of our most valuable asset, right? It is our thoughts, it is our ideas, it is our processes, it is how we do things, and it's how we package it to repeat sell it and make it put it to work for us to make us money, right? And so there are several different types. Most commonly are patents, and a lot of times people get confused with like what is what.
Mhm.
Patents are inventions. So think about, the underhood hair dryer. Like somebody thought of that. Some scientific person figured out how to make heat come out of a hooded dryer, right? And so they could receive got a patent for that. Then you have trademarks. A lot now, I think people know a lot or they hear that one a lot because especially now, I will say, since the pandemic, we are seeing like record like quadruple the number of trademark applications happening because so many more people are building brands. But trademarks are how we identify, it's how we stand out in the marketplace, right? It's how when you see that those golden arches, you don't have to look at the name to see what that is. You know that that's McDonald's. We know when we hear certain sounds. You can trademark a sound. You can trademark um, a logo. So when you see it, you know whose it is, right? And so that is how we protect our brands, but also how we protect. I like to tell people, as much as we as entrepreneurs and creatives benefit from trademarks, because we certainly do, that's not why the government created them. Trademarks were born from consumer protection because the government has a vested interest in making sure that the public knows what they're getting when they're paying for something, right? So that if someone sees a handbag that has an LV on it, that person that believes that they're getting this luxurious Italian leather handbag from Louis Vuitton is actually getting that and not something, on Canal Street in New York. And so that's really what that's why the government issues trademarks so that you could be the only one, so that brand that you have built is not confusing to the public, and that the public doesn't think, oh, well, I got a Louis Vuitton for $25, that they don't think that that's the same Louis Vuitton. Like that would be against the law for someone to do that, because which is why all the DH gate girlies on TikTok drive me crazy, because this is like, no, 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 that's not what we're doing. They
So
gonna be mad and tussling when they hear me say, they come in my comments all the time, but I'll stop.
well, tell the truth and shame the devil. That's what I
Yeah.
heard. That's
Mhm.
what I know to do.
Mhm.
So there's a difference between a patent, which is an idea,
Mhm.
like you said, the hooded dryer, how to actually get the heat in
Yes.
under that hood, and how is it directed versus from a nozzle of an actual,
Right.
regular blow dryer, something like that. And then you said trademarking, which is really identifying your brand, your name, your logo from the sea of anyone
Yes.
else.
Yes. And the
And
key with that though is, and as it relates to a certain type of product, service, event, blog, right? So when you get a trademark, it's not just a blanket free for all that you've got something reserved and nobody anywhere can use it. It is, no one could use it in the category, we call it the class, but in the category that you are using it. That is why you can see, Apple has technology on lock, right? Phones, computers, all that. But if I wanted to open a restaurant called Apple, they couldn't stop me from doing that because that's not the business that they're in. Now they could possibly if it looked like the Apple Store,
Yeah.
right? Because the test is always about consumer confusion. Will a consumer see my store and say, "Oh, Apple got a restaurant now," right? Will they be confused? And if the answer is yes or maybe, then that means I'm in the wrong space. I can't do that.
Got you. And how does copywriting play into that? Because I was going to say, and into intellectual property and
Mhm.
protecting and things like that, because there are a lot of physicians that I work around and myself are authors, and we are
Yeah.
copywriting our writing and things like
Yeah.
that as well too. So how does that all play into intellectual property?
Sure. So I like to say the copyright is the easiest one for you to remember. I'm going to give you an easy way to remember it. Think of the letter C, which is what copyright starts with. We protect creative content that we create by copyright. So anything that you've created that's in tangible form. So books, blog posts, audios, this podcast episode right now, curriculum, there's another C. So anything that you're creating, that is going to be protected by copyright. Logos are the only asset that can be protected by both, one or both, right? Because a logo, the creation of the drawing of the logo can be protected by copyright. But once that logo is used to signify a brand, it can also be protected by trademark. So you can copyright and trademark a logo.
Okay.
But when you're thinking about songs, thinking about choreography, all of those things are protected by copyright.
Got you. That makes sense. That's super, super helpful. I think another thing that comes across a lot, and this is a thought that has been put in my mind for I think years, and I think it may come from a scarcity mindset, but I want you to kind of break it down for me. So I'm I'm an ideas person. I always have got an idea about something. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but sometimes I hear people say, "Well, I don't want someone to steal my idea." Is that really a thing? And talk to me, I guess, about that.
Yeah, that's a huge misconception. And so ideas in and of themselves are not protectable. They're not protectable. Now, if you have an idea of something that has never been done before, that's possibly patentable, maybe, right? But if you have an idea of let's just say a brunch that you want to do or some type of event, that in and of itself is not protectable. Now, what is the name you give it and the brand that you build around it. You can protect that. Also, we also can protect another piece of intellectual property, highly overlooked, and I like to say, but definitely in the creative space, highly overlooked is what we call trade secrets. So that is how you do things. So your signature process, the recipe of Coca-Cola, the recipe of Kentucky Fried Chicken's chicken, right? What's in that Big Mac, the Big Mac special sauce, what's in it? Those things are protected by contract because they're not public anywhere. But anytime, and so a lot of creatives, as you're hiring people, and you've got a certain, I have a very signature framework that I walk attorneys through that is protectable because I don't want someone else to take it's not my idea per se, but it is my method or my process, right? So you can protect those things, but you can't just the idea of, unless it's something that's never been done before, which doesn't happen much. Most of the time, your idea, now your spin, the razzle dazzle that you're putting on it, we can find ways that we can protect that, but it's not the idea itself that we would protect.
Got you. So when you have a process, like you said, there is a specific process that you work with attorneys to open up
Yeah.
the law firm. Is that something that then falls under patenting, or is that then trademarking, copyright, or is it kind of all of them that
It can
they
be
all those tools?
it can be multiple. Patent, no, because it's not scientific. There's no technology or any scientific component of it. But if I write a book about it, now it's in written form and it's now protected by copyright. If I develop a course around it, then now I can copyright that course. If that course has a name and I've now built a brand around it, I can trademark the name of it, right? So think about like the 7 habits of highly effective people. There's so many, like those 7 habits, those are protected. So, and that because there's a book about it, there's a course about it. The other one is I like to use as an example. I was meeting with someone. I get a lot of doctors, not necessarily medical doctors, but a lot of PhD grads. I don't know. I think I represented a couple and then they just spread my name everywhere, which is great. And so, because a lot of times they are developing their own, we're taking their theory or their process or their signature something, and we are figuring out how to make something of it. And so, I was meeting with a client the other day, and I gave him. He's got a very his theory that he used for his dissertation, and he's got an ebook, and now he's figuring out, like, we're looking at possibly licensing, him developing a curriculum so that we can license it to higher ed institutions. And so as an example, I love to show people the SMART goals, right? We all been saying SMART goals. SMART goals is trademarked, okay? Trademarked. And he was like, oh my God. And I said, so just think about that. Like, what's your SMART goals? What is something that you got your signature method of how you are doing it? For me, it's my Make It Rain online funnel. I got this 5-step process that is going to take clients from A to Z. So whatever that is for you, now you've got it. That's what helps you to stand out. So that's how you take that idea that you had that I said wasn't protectable, and you make it protectable by figuring out those steps.
Your special sauce. Like you said, your razzle dazzle, things like that.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. That's super helpful for me, and I think everybody that's going to be listening as well too, because I think doctors and the word of actually being a physician means teacher in and of itself. And so I think a lot of us, when we venture off into entrepreneurship, I think myself more specifically, the first thing that we naturally start to do is start to teach and start to educate. So there are curriculum ideas, there's things like that that we can develop and share, but it's how to navigate that process.
Yes. And let's talk about that, because I do a lot of this work, right? And so usually, like, what I try to coach, and within my legal clients, I do some coaching with them too, because I just can't turn it off, right? But what you want to do is you got to position yourself to be in the authoritative position. So speaking, I've done a lot of deals with institutions, colleges and universities. And so if you let them, the contract that they're going to send you for this class, if you're going to be an adjunct, if you're going to teach something, you've got a curriculum, whatever, your contract is going to say that they're going to own the IP. And so what you've got to do, which is why I recommend for any expert, so whether that's a legal expert, a medical expert, in any, whatever your field is, you want to create your signature process, and you want to protect that so that you're not reinventing the wheel every single time, right? So you've got this, you're Mr. Smart Goals. The SMART goals look the same whether you take a course at Harvard or whether any place you go. The SMART goals are the SMART goals. And so when you develop your signature thing, then you can license it to those schools. They're allowed to use it, and they can pay you a licensing fee. And maybe sometimes with the licensing fee, sometimes what I'm also negotiating is not just the licensing fee, but also your appearance. So if they want you to come, like, you could license it to where they could have their own professors teach it, your method. Right. But if they want you to come, then it's the licensing fee plus how much it's going to cost you to show up to do it, right? But that's how you want to be thinking. That's how you are monetizing your IP. Because think of when y'all went to medical school. Think of all them books that you got. Where those authors at?
We don't know.
Somewhere living their best life or dead, and their family is still eating off every time that because every time that professor puts out their book list and all those students have to buy the book,
Right. Right.
that's
Absolutely.
IP. Like when we are as trained professionals, we hold the bag, right? Like you have so much knowledge and wealth, a wealth of knowledge, and even things. Some of it has been downloaded into you from the books you've read and the courses you've taken and so forth. But when you take all that, put it in the pot, mix it up, sprinkle your razzle dazzle in there, it's now something new. And so now let's protect that and let's create that, whatever that, the curriculum, the method, the process, whatever that is, so that you do that one time. When Beyonce record, look how many times Beyonce done made money off this Renaissance. And she ain't done. She probably gonna come back and give us something else to buy.
Right. Right. Because it's just act one. It's just act one of this. She keeps saying it's act one. So we know it's going to be act two, at least 2 or 3 parts to this.
But just imagine if we think that way. I was doing some videos for a video shoot for my, some branding videos, and I had this makeup artist. She was doing my makeup, and while she was doing my makeup, I was like practicing my lines and stuff. And so she was just listening as she's doing my makeup, and she goes, "Man, what you're talking about is so powerful." She was like, "I wish I had some IP." And I said, "Girl, what are you talking about? We all have IP." She was like, "I don't have any." I said, "The way that I went on your Instagram, went to your link in your bio, booked the consultation. I mean, booked you to show up here, paid my deposit. You got here, the way you set it up, the way you got me facing, had the light coming into me, the way you set your table up, the shade, the way you're gonna pick the shade of foundation, like every single step of your process is documentable that you could package into a course, a book." She was like, "Oh my gosh." But I was like, "That is your IP, your knowledge, your information, your process." I said, "How long you been doing makeup?" She was like, 7 years. Okay. So you could be a coach and teach somebody how to build a freelance makeup artist business. You have celebrity clients. You do, like, think of all the things that you know. And so any service provider, any expert, but those of us, the lawyers and doctors, we could probably do 10.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And it doesn't have, I think the other thing is that, especially with medicine, we spend so long getting to this point where we're doctors. And so we're finally here and we're practicing that we forget of all of who we were before this point. All of the things that we knew how to do. Like you said, you've been a candid lady, you've been knew how to hustle, you've been knew how to market, because from when you were small, you knew how to do that. So I think for us, it takes a little bit of a self discovery to remember that we have so many different things that we can contribute and to add and to things like that as well too. But there is a process for everything. So I think it's easier for us to say, "Oh yeah, there's a process of how I intubate. Like I pick out the Mac 3, I make sure suction, I got to call respiratory, the vent's ready, all that other stuff." Yes, that is a process, but there's other things that we do.
Or that you just know, it comes so naturally to you. You don't even like, and as doctors and lawyers, we're in the unique position. I take full advantage of this position. Okay. We are in the unique position to serve 2 audiences, right? I have so many digital products. I have packaged my intellectual property into products that I sell to entrepreneurs. So my legal clients, right? Those people who my trademark process that I've done, 50, 11 million gazillion trademarks. I know what that process is. I package that into a course so that someone who doesn't want to hire a lawyer can go get that course and get their own trademark, right? But we are in a profession that is constantly learning. So we also have peers who need our expertise in a certain area of the law, a certain area of medicine, a certain how to do a certain locale. Like for us, the way that you do a process at one hospital could be completely different in another geographic part of the country, right? Their way that they do it is different. The way that I do a DUI in DC could be totally different if I was in California, right? And so the lawyers over there need to know how to do it there. The lawyers here need to know how to do it here. So there are endless possibilities for us to capitalize on our intellectual property, whether we do it for our profession, whether we write books, whether we put on, I'm sure for you all, you have continuing education that you're required to do. So we could do that. We could do that route and just become millionaires off that alone. Like we could serve our profession, or we could serve the public, because they are, especially these generations that are coming, the Gen Zers. They are very into knowing how to do stuff. They are very into, figuring out how to do something on their own. Or think of whoever invented WebMD.
Right. Even though I wish that website would burn to the ground.
That's how I feel about LegalZoom. That's how I feel about LegalZoom. That's how I feel about LegalZoom. Exactly.
Yes.
But we can't stop the people from going there, right? But what could we do? And what did I do?
Give them an alternative.
Give them an alternative and say, this is better than LegalZoom, because I'm at least a lawyer.
Right. And you can see me and look at me.
You can see me and look at me. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's the thing about, as professionals, like, we are in an era that has never been seen before. I had so many clients over in the pandemic that created all kinds of DEI content, DEI curriculum for schools. I've done so many deals with so many nonprofits and different things. We are in an age where there is such a need for information and content. Everybody needs it. But there's more of a need than there are people who are able and equipped to provide it. That's where we come in.
So there's money in the land, I heard you say.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
That's what I heard you say. There was money in the land. It's just time to go get it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I love it.
And it's okay. And sometimes that might look different, right? It may not look how we thought when we went to medical school or when we went to law school. Like it may look different. And that's okay too. Right? The experience, the knowledge that we have is not going to be taken away. I had a client, a lawyer, that it took us a while to get to that place, because she had to come to terms with she don't really want to practice law anymore. And that's okay. In fact, she just sent me a message last week that she finally quit. She was a public defender in New York, and she really wants to do screenplays and produce movies.
That sounds amazing.
Amazing. Sometimes, like you said, our identity is tied in to what our profession is. But I had to help her to see, you've been storytelling all along. Every time you stand up in that and do your opening and closing argument in front of a jury, you are storytelling. And she was like, oh.
The light bulb.
The light bulb. Now you're just going to tell stories in front of a different audience. It's not a jury or a judge. Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed with that, because I just want us to feel free to expand ourselves outside of our identity, and see how to piggyback off of what you said, to see how we're already living our wanted identity and what we're doing right now.
Yes.
And to notice that it's not extraneous to us. It's already inside. We're just calling
You're already doing it.
Yeah, we're just calling it something different. Like, I didn't really think, of course, when I was trying to be a doctor, that one day I would switch and become a business coach. I never really thought of myself as entrepreneurial, marketer, things like that. But I just think about what you said about yourself. My mom was the candy lady. My mom always had a hustle. She was selling jewelry. She sold like, Mom, I saw that, and you absorb that. And it's the same process, and the way that you get to talk to people, and you get to understand people's needs and things like that. All of that is marketing sales, customer relations, all
Yeah.
of those. It's just called a different thing. It's in medicine, it's called patient care, bedside manner,
Yes.
admission, discharging, like all of those conversations and things like that, how to actually have people to have an experience with you.
Yeah.
Same thing in medicine. I mean, not in medicine, there is the in business, there's a customer journey, customer experience, all of those things as well too. Just we're doing so many different things. We just call it something different. And I think because of the systems as well, this is the whole separate topic that we didn't even get a chance to talk about, but the systems that we both come from, law and medicine, are very oppressive to people of color. And it was not designed for us. It was designed on our backs. And we were the science experiments that they were creating all of these things off of. So I think it's a little bit harder for us as people of color, anybody that's not a white male, to absorb that sometimes, but it's good to highlight it and it's good to see it. So
Yeah, and it's good to take inventory of you and what the experiences are. Like all of your life experiences all add together to make you who you are and where you are right now. And you don't have to like dismiss those, right? Like when you really think about that and your ability to serve, because that's what we all are. We are all serving people.
yes.
We're serving people. And to serve either a different group of people or to serve them in a different way, right? And so when my first coach helped me to see, I've been coaching all along. I was just calling it mentoring, which is the broke way to do it because you're not getting paid.
Amen, somebody. Amen.
Listen.
Amen, somebody.
So I'm not a mentor no more. I'm not a mentor anymore. But
Right.
it's the same thing. The same thing.
That's so good. Nakia, is there anything else you'd like to share with the Docs Get Money podcast fam?
I just want the docs to take inventory of your intellectual property, your assets. That is your ticket. It is all of our ticket to wealth. It is how you will be like I said, think about I want everybody, I'm gonna challenge every person to go get take your favorite textbook for medical school. I'm sure you still have it. Look on the author page, see that person's name, look it up and see are they even still living? Probably not. But you bought their book. You bought their book. They are pouring into you from heaven or hell, depending on where they went.
Not
And I'm gonna leave you with that. What?
everybody gonna make it through the gate.
So
Not
you
everybody gonna
go be that. What does this next generation need? And it doesn't have to be necessarily doctors. If you are like, it could be anything. It could be anything. If you're a good party planner, if you're good, like there are some skills that you are just really really good at that you can leave this world and there'll be a whole generation of upcoming insert whatever it is that you're really good at that you could effortlessly help somebody else. That's your moneymaker. And keep saving lives. Keep saving lives. But let's make some money. Some
I
real
love it. Yes, for real this time.
for real stuff.
So where can everybody find you? How can we connect with you offline or
So
online?
I am very active on my favorite platform of the moment is TikTok, and my handle is Your Small Biz Attorney on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram at Nakia Gray ESQ and also on Facebook at Nakia Gray ESQ. But TikTok is, if you really want to get to know me, TikTok.
Got you. And then tell us really briefly, you said you do have a trademarking course and a
Yes.
course.
Yes.
How can we support that if a doctor is looking to trademark something or needs some sort of a contract?
Yes. So makeitofficialcourse.com is the trademark course. And I'll make sure that you have all of these links. And then I also have a legal guide that guides you through every piece of starting a business. So forming and choosing the right business structure, your taxes, contracts, copyrights, and trademarks, all of that, plus all of the contracts that you need to really protect yourself in business. And that's getlegallylockedin.com. So both of those have everything that you need to take your business from here to and I'm pointing to I forgot this is audio, from your mind and from an idea and bring it to fruition in a way that you are set up to be protected and to monetize it to the up-team power.
Love it. Thank you so much, Nakia, for your time, for
This
your
was
energy.
great.
This was amazing. So thank you. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Docs Get Money podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you find your favorite podcast. Share, comment, follow, and subscribe to the Docs Get Money podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to know more, visit me, Dr. Kimberly Brown, at KimberlyBrownMD.com, and be sure to follow me at Dr. Kimberly B on Instagram. And until next time, let's go get this money, honey.